Welcome to the Sweetwater District Adult Leader Roundtable for September 2020. The theme tonight, Parental Involvement and Recruiting. Our opening ceremony is presented by PAC 231 and Troops 231 and 5231. Now please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the Scout Oath and Scout Law.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout Law, to love the people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Please join me in the Scout Law. A
Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. We are the Bakers, and we are members of the 231 family.
DeShazer!
I am Will DeShazer.
I'm Olivia DeShazer.
I'm Eliana DeShazer.
I see.
Hello and welcome once again to the September Roundtable. I'm Ed Henderson and I'll spend most of the meeting in the background running the slideshows. But if you have a technical question, please direct message me in the chat and I'll try to help. If you don't have sound or are having trouble with your video, please run the audio and video test by clicking the up arrow next to the microphone icon at the bottom of your screen. And if that doesn't work, try closing your Zoom screen and logging in again. If your unit would like to be featured in the opening ceremony for next month's roundtable, please email me and I will come out and video your scouts doing the pledge, oath, and law. This roundtable will be available to view online in 2 to 3 days, and you'll find the link on the Sweetwater Commissioner Roundtable page on our district website. And first up tonight is Denise with announcements. And if you have a question or comment on the announcements, type it into chat, and that way Denise can help you after she's done. Following that is going to be our common topic, which is coping with COVID from BSA. And after that, we'll split up into breakout groups, and everyone will get an invitation to join the Scouts BSA breakout. But if you're a Cub leader or interested in the Cub topics, just stay right here in the main room when that invitation occurs. So here's Denise.
Hey everybody, welcome. I don't see anybody new on the list. I'll keep looking though. First up, Taylor is going to talk to us, our new DE, if you haven't met her.
Thanks. Okay, so hi everyone, my name's Taylor. If you haven't had a chance to hear me talk to you yet, hello for the first time. Hopefully everyone has a good way to contact me, either via email or cell phone. If you don't, I'll drop my information in the chat so you're able to talk to me. If you haven't yet, for those of you that have, it's been a joy to meet you. Thanks for having me. And thank you for everyone who showed up to the popcorn kickoff as well. If it wasn't you personally or someone from your unit that showed up for you, thank you for doing that. It was a really successful event, I think. We had a really good time. It was a lot of fun. So thank you to Allison and David and Ed and everyone for coming out. On that note, popcorn kickoff, we're doing great with our popcorn sales. So the units that have really started to jump in and do that, thank you. Some of our units have already sold over $10,000 worth of popcorn. I think the next one after that is $1,000 for just one scout has already sold $1,000 worth of popcorn. It's super easy, so just make sure your scouts signed up via Trails End. And I know a lot of people are kind of hesitant right now to do the popcorn sales in person, and I totally get that, and I'm right there with you. Trails End has made it really easy to have your scout have a link like on their page, and you can just click on it and share that with your family and friends and encourage them. If they're out buying popcorn, we have K-Cups too, to support our troops and do that locally, and not go to the store, if they can. I'm sure a lot of people want to support our scouts and do that for them this season. And then the next note that I have is going over our roundups. That's something I think we'll be talking about extensively over the next, couple of months while we're doing registration nights. So I just want to go over quickly. I'm going to make this available for everybody. And Renate, thank you for your help going over this stuff with me. But I just want to make sure that everyone has the dates if you need it. So just stand by if I call your school name and the date, just be ready to write it down. So Alfred Elementary, that's going to be on October 1st at St. Marguerite Catholic Church. Anderson-Livesey is the 15th of September at Zoar, UMC. Annistown's the 6th of October at Zoar. Arcado, 23rd September, Mountain Park Activity Building. That's the one next to the Aquatic Center. Bagot is going to be October 7th at New Hope Christian Church. Benfield, October 7th at New Hope Christian Church. Bethesda, 14 October, New Hope Christian Church. Camp Creek, 16 September, Mountain Park Activity Building. Centerville, 22 September at Zoar. Corley, 6 October, Shorty Howe. Ferguson, 6 October, Shorty Howe. Graves, TBD. So if anyone has a good backup location, send it to me. Greater Atlanta Christian School, 24 September is on site. Hopkins, TBD. Conahada, 14 October, New Hope Christian Church. Knight, 6 October, Good Shepherd Presbyterian. Lilburn, 30 September, Mountain Park Activity Building. Meadow Creek and Minor are both TBD. Mountain Park Elementary, 16 September at Mountain Park Activity Building. Nesbit, 30 September, Mountain Park Activity Building. Partee, 22 September at Zoar, Rockbridge, TBD. Shiloh, 6 October at Zoar. And St. John Newman, same TBD. They're most likely going to do it there, though. And then Ryan's got his as well that I'll send out, but I don't want to belabor you guys talking all night about all that. I just want to make sure you guys have that information. Go ahead.
Okay.
Renate has a question.
Okay. Allison, did you have anything to say about popcorn?
I think Taylor did a pretty good job. We had what I think is a successful kickoff considering. And if you weren't able to attend, just make sure that you get with Taylor or Ryan to get your packet with your guidebook, because that's going to be your very important document for your unit. And dates are on the screen right now. And let's get to selling some popcorn.
Okay. I have one thing to say about unit pins. I'm not going to go through how to do it again. Call me if you need help. But in the next couple of days, I'm going to start going through all of them. And if your contact information isn't there, I'm going to put it in. Cubmaster, committee chair, or maybe both. If it's not what you want, you're welcome to go back and fix it. The rest is going to be up to you, unless you tell me what you want there. Okay, let's move on to announcements. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Den Chief training, I am confirming with the church that we can have it there. I'd like to change the time to 9 to 12:30. And I emailed that to Ed and Lee today so that we can have time for a snack, but not time for lunch. The lunch activity in the past has basically been a process of everyone working together to achieve a goal. And I just think in our current climate, that's probably not a wise thing, but the rest of the curriculum is adjustable. So if you have any scout is able to be a den chief, they don't have to be a particular rank, they don't have to be a particular age. If anything, the younger they start, the better, because then they can stay longer with the den that they're with. We do want, for each scout that comes to be trained, we would like somebody from the pack that they're going to be working with, and then I would love to have somebody from their troop too, so that everybody's kind of on the same page about what they're doing. The registration information for that is on the Sweetwater page of the Northeast Georgia Council page website. And the registration is already set up there, and it will, when you first register, it'll let you choose whether you're a youth or an adult. And then after that, there's additional choices that will pop up so that we can find out, like if you need a book or if you need a patch and that kind of thing. So I hope that you have kids who want to be trained as den chiefs, and I hope that if you're with a pack, that you can put them to work.
So Cubtoberfest is a new event for Cub Scouts this year. That's taking place at Scoutland on Saturday, October 3rd. We'll have a lot of fun things for Cub Scouts to do, like BBs, archery, slingshots, scout skills, games, food. And because this is an in-person event, and there's really nothing more important than the health and well-being of our scouts and families and staff, we are going to be observing COVID guidelines. We'll be strongly encouraging masks. We should have numerous hand sanitizing stations set up throughout Scoutland. We have cleaning regimens in place, and because we'll be at Scoutland, there's going to be plenty of space to spread out for social distancing. We hope that your pack is planning to come out, bring your cubs, join in the festivities, and registration is located on the Sweetwater webpage, so you can check it out there. Thanks.
Okay. So the next thing is Weeblos Woods. It is September 26th, Saturday. It's a one-day thing this year. Ordinarily, it is a weekend. At Scoutland, Weeblos and Arrow of Lights only. They'll do BBs, archery, other fun things, and parts of, if not most of, the Into the Woods adventure requirements. It is a council thing, so you have to look at the council calendar. And Stacy, you want to talk about Fall Family Camp?
Sure. So Sweetwater Backyard Fall Family Camping is going to take place on October 31st this year. Because of COVID guidelines and safety issues, we really felt it was going to be best to move Fall Family Camping to a virtual format so that everyone can attend without concern for their family's health. A flyer is in the process and should be available on the Sweetwater webpage about this time next week. We will have a dedicated Facebook page just for our Sweetwater Backyard Fall Family Camping, and information on how to register to access it will be on the flyer. We will put out a schedule of events, and that we'll post that on the Facebook page as well, so Cubs won't miss out on any of the special content or contests that we're planning. And yeah, just like with if you attended the virtual Backyard Family Campout earlier this year, just like that, we're going to encourage uploading of pictures and videos and that kind of thing. So Sweetwater Backyard Family Camping is going to be a free event, and it will be open to all Sweetwater Cub Scouts and their families. Thanks, Denise. Okay.
And just a reminder about the Pinewood Derby for packs without tracks, so you can save those dates. Cut out on Feb 27, qualifying March 20. More details on that to come. Baloo training. Matt, are you here?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. We have Baloo training coming right up on October 2nd and 3rd at Scoutland. I've got a great staff lined up to do some training for all you Cub Scout leaders that are looking to get Baloo trained. It's for basic outdoor leader and basic adult leader outdoor orientation. It is a one-night event. We get there Friday between 5:30 and 7, and then we start classes right then at 7:05, and we go all through the next day, and we should leave about 7 o'clock that night. It's going to be chock full of a lot of information, but also a lot of camaraderie and fun. So far, we have 11 people signed up. I would love to have a whole lot more. And we will be safe for COVID.
Yes, basically, it's camping skills at the Cub level, and it's how to plan an event. You don't have to have it to go to, say, fall family camp or district events like that. But if you're doing your own camp out, you have to have it. No matter where you're going, you should. Now, if you cannot make our class, which of course will be the best, but but if that date is just not possible for you, you do have alternatives. You can search the council calendar. Cherokee District, Etowah District are both offering the classes. Maybe not as well as we do, but good enough, okay? And even Atlanta Area Council offers these same class. There are the dates. Atlanta Council, just click on their calendar, click training calendar, and you'll find a whole lot of stuff to pick from. Okay, Stacy, Sweetwater Conservation Day.
Yep, Conservation Day is taking place at Yellow River Park on Saturday, September 19th, which is just a little more than a week away now. And we are getting pretty excited about it because this is going to be the first of, or this is going to be Sweetwater's first in-person event for Scouts BSA in quite some time. Attending Scouts can earn the Eagle Required Environmental Science Merit Badge, Service Hours, and Conservation Good Turn Patch. As a bonus for Scouts working on the Camping Merit Badge, attending Conservation Day can fulfill that badge's requirement 9C. If you have a Scout that's already earned the Environmental Science Merit Badge, then they can still attend and earn service hours and the Conservation Good Turn Patch. We have space for about 18 more Scouts available, and we will be closing registration once we reach 60. So if you have a Scout who wants to attend, I encourage you to head over to the Sweetwater webpage and sign them up as soon as possible. I want everybody to be aware that we are also not taking walk-ins at this event because we have to ensure that we remain in compliance with Gwinnett County Parks COVID guidelines. Thanks, Denise.
Okay. Also, just as an FYI, Advance-A-Rama, January 30, will be virtual. I believe there'll be about a month in which it's open. Is that right?
Yeah, I can talk about that too. So we did make the decision to move the 2021 Sweetwater Advance-A-Rama to a virtual event this year. It was originally scheduled for January 30th, and our plans are to still start the classes on or about that date. I don't want to give you too much information at this point because we are still working out the logistics, but we will have more information for everybody at the October Roundtable.
Stacy, there was a question about blue cards.
For Earl, are you asking for Conservation Day? I would like for them to have a blue card in their possession if possible. If it's not possible for a Scout to meet with you and get it signed ahead of time, you know, that's something that we're working with. With COVID, I know that that can be a challenge. So if they have a blue card, if they have a way to get one, that would be ideal. You know, because if not, then they can get a blue card at a later date or do it online and send it to their merit badge counselor, and maybe they can sign it electronically. Does that answer your question? Awesome.
Okay. Just as an FYI for OA, fellowship September 18 to 20 is canceled. As of yesterday, I was told that powwow is still planned for October 30 to November 1, but it's not on the council calendar. And there's practically nothing on the council calendar for spring, so let's not worry about that yet. See, Joe is not with us to talk about Camporee. Do you want to do that?
Absolutely. So Sweetwater and Chattahoochee's Fall Camporee is still taking place at Scoutland on November 6th through the 8th. And the theme this year is Back to Nature. Some of the things that the Scouts BSA youth can expect to do at this Fall Camporee is to develop and improve nature skills such as animal and plant identification. There will be some hands-on nature-themed merit badge classes offered. And, you know, Joe really likes to throw in some fun competition in the mix, so we will have that as well. Registration is now open, and just like everything else, you can access that through the Sweetwater webpage.
Okay. We'll just mention the spring Camporee so that you can save the date. March 26th to 28th, Scoutland Big Game Challenge. I believe this means like the life-size Jenga and such things. The council calendar has the flyer right now because they're calling it primarily Chattahoochee, but it's not, it's a shared event. And I mention this also because our IOLS training is at the same time and place. Stacy, do we have anyone to talk about IOLS, or do I need to do it?
You can if you want. That is so far in the future right now, and I haven't even begun on that one.
Okay. IOLS is Introduction to Outdoor Leader Skills. It is a required training for Scoutmasters and ASMs. It is a camp out. So we'll be holding that at Spring Camporee. So you have plenty of time to go ahead and get ready for that. Now, again, if you are unlucky enough that you can't make that date, Appalachia, Cherokee, and Etowah are all offering the same training. Just check the council calendar for the dates. Atlanta Council also, as of now, has 3 IOLS trainings. However, if you go to another district or another council, we have no way to know that. You need to tell us. Bringing proof is nice. If you take youth protection somewhere else, definitely bring us proof, because the other district or the other council is not able to enter it for you in your record. Atlanta Council's computers and ours do not talk to anybody other than their own council. So just when you get back, let your district chair, district commissioner, district training chair, or somebody let them know so we can enter it. Now, as for COVID tests, we don't have the answer. You're just going to have to check everyone individually. We have no way to know that unless it's on the flyer, and who knows? Things change too, so we don't have that answer. Okay, talking about the council calendar. NYLT is no longer in November and December. It's back to summer. Taliachila is postponed to spring. Wood Badge is back to April and May. And some of these things changed in the last couple of days, so definitely keep checking. University of Scouting should be on December 5th, but it's not set because they're still negotiating being able to use the school. Yule Log is planned for the second weekend of December, unless COVID interferes. Just not on the calendar yet. Scout Show, Spring Family Camp, not on the calendar. I don't think anybody is quite sure what's happening in the spring. So any other questions?
I have one more thing I want to talk about. Before I do, let me address Dave's question. If a COVID test is needed before an event, and as of this time, the only time one is needed is before a camping event, the person running that event will let you know. You should receive an email and some information on that, okay? The one more thing I want to talk about is something that's not on the PowerPoint, but because we're just so early into it, but we are in the very early planning stages for a food drive to help our local food co-ops. There are a lot of people right now who are in dire need because of job loss or illness due to the pandemic. And I figured who better than the Scouts to step up and help. We plan to hold this food drive in mid-October, and I would really appreciate anyone with experience or knowledge about how to organize a food drive to contact me, because I've never done this before. So I could really use some advice here. Also, if you think this is a service project your troop or pack would be interested in either helping organize or participate in, then I'd love to hear from you as well. The more hands we have, the more we can accomplish. So for those who don't know me, I'm Stacy Henderson. I'm not sure there's anybody here, but just in case. And my email is sweetwatermbc@gmail.com. Thanks, Denise.
Okay, we're getting ready to move into our common topic. The other day I was thinking about everything I have to do, and a lot of them that I don't really want to do. And I was thinking how tired I am of being stuck in the house with people. I spent 4 hours driving back and forth to a funeral on 285, and it was the most relaxed I've been in months. I was thinking what I really need is a month off, and it occurred to me that all of us need a month off, or at least a break, and we're not going to get it. BSA has some short videos about coping with COVID and being stressed out, and we're going to show you 2 of them. Ed, are we ready?
So I love this question, not only as a child psychologist, but also as a parent myself. I think as parents, we can feel like if we are not enjoying this extra time at home with our kids and we're not feeling like every second of it is bliss, that there's something wrong with us. And I'm here to say, both professionally and personally, that could not be further from the truth. This is hard stuff. Single parents are hit even harder because not only are you tasked with being the sole breadwinner for your family and keeping up with your job in some capacity, you're also responsible for keeping up with just the day-to-day chores and activities it takes to run your home, and you're responsible for keeping up with your kids all day. That can include things like schooling and how am I going to figure out how to keep them engaged and excited about learning during this time. Or maybe you've given up on schooling altogether and you think, gosh, there's no way we can do that right now. We're just trying to survive. If you are in full out survival mode, I want to raise my hand and say, I'm right there with you. This is a hard time. And when we signed up to be parents, I don't think any part of us thought parenting in a global pandemic was going to be part of that plan. I want to start off by saying, no, you're not a bad parent, and make sure you hear that. And that also you hear that it is extra important during this time that you're taking times for yourself to decompress in a healthy way. And I'm not going to pretend like a bubble bath or painting your nails is going to be the thing that's going to fix it all and make you feel like this is somehow easier. But doing little things like trying to put healthy food in our bodies, taking 5 minutes to step outside and get fresh air is crucial right now to our mental health and our well-being. In addition to that, I have a couple of tips or tricks and suggestions in working with kids that you may find helpful. And I'll say that these are just suggestions. Again, it's not going to be the magic thing that makes this all better, but you might find that by incorporating some of these things into your daily routine, that you see that your kids' behavior problems and your general stress decreases just a little. So the first thing that we always recommend to families is that we want to make sure that we're giving kids some attention during this time. You may have noticed being stuck indoors with them all day long, that all they do is just say, Mom, Mom, I'm bored, or pay attention. Or they may be doing things like getting in trouble with brother or sister because they notice when they do, you attend to it. That's a really, really normal situation because we know that kids love attention, even if it's negative attention. So we can do something intentionally where we start our day with 5 minutes of focused attention with each kid, where they get to pick an activity. We sit down at the table with them. For me and my son right now, he is young, and so that looks like coloring or Play-Doh. And I give all my attention in that 5 minutes. I praise all the things that I love that he's doing. And just using that little extra bit of time with him decreases the amount of tension he feels like he needs throughout the day. So that's one tip or trick that we can use. Another thing that we can do is break up the day with different activities. So as much as we can be shifting or changing our routine throughout the day, that can be a big help. Unlike adults, kids' attention changes very quickly, and so we can't expect that they're going to sit down and play with that Play-Doh activity for 4 hours and be entertained. If you're a parent, you know this already. So as much as we can, spacing our activities throughout the day. Maybe we do an indoor activity for a period of time. Then we move to doing an outdoor activity for a period of time. We come back inside and we have a break for a meal time. And then in the afternoon, we have more of that quiet self-directed activity where kids are expected to go to their rooms, play quietly for a period of time. They can maybe take a rest, but if they're at an age where they don't take naps anymore, it's just a time for you to have for yourself where you're not feeling like you're overwhelmed with kids all the time. So as much as we can break up the day, the better we're going to do. I also want to say that you've probably heard the advice that we want to stay away from screen time. And while I think that that's a great thing when we're in normal times, it's normal and expected that you lean on screens a little bit more than maybe you usually would to give yourself a break. I'm here to say and remind you that you're not a bad parent for doing so. We're going to go back to our new normal in time, and for now it's okay that you feel like you're in survival mode. I'm wishing you the best of luck, not only as a professional but as a mom too, and hang in there.
So I'm a single mom of 3 kids, a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And I co-parent pretty well with my ex-husband. We try and communicate on a regular basis and do things that we both believe are in the best interest of our children. And the other night we were talking about this topic, and we were talking about doing it right and keeping it all together and not cracking in front of our kids. And then that took us full circle into the conversation of the humbling moments of apologizing after we have miserably failed at keeping it all together. I find that the more we work on just being honest, humble, and kind, our kids oftentimes will lean into the comfort of our mishaps. They realize and see that it's more about being human than it is about being perfect, and that we get to define what human looks like. So my kids get to define what being a human looks like for them, and I get to define what that looks like for me. And for most of us within our family, it's about grace and our temperament and our willingness and ability to take responsibility for ourselves after we've made the decisions that we've made, even if we've caused harm. And oftentimes that leads to a lot of grace and connection that we have for one another. So I see parenting like I see running a company. It's all about trust. I have to first trust myself to teach everyone what the needs are, what the goals of our community are, and really what I hope and expect out of each of them. And then I let them know that each one of them plays a really pivotal and key role in the success of our company. I need them then to trust me, trust that I'm going to make decisions that I hope will serve everyone well. And what that essentially tells them is that we're in this together. They have a part, I have a part. My job is to keep them safe. My job is to make hard decisions. And sometimes those decisions can be really trying and taxing on everyone at hand. It can be hard on their workloads. It can be hard on our environment, on our home life. But I'm never letting go of anyone. It's a higher for life philosophy in my house. And I need everyone to be here and really to be all in all of the time. That doesn't mean that I need them to be 100% all of the time, but it does mean that I need them to be all in. And I model being all in as well. And that needs to be met with grace. So when the days are hard for me and when the days are hard for other people in my household, I let my family know, just like I let my staff know, because it's on those days that I may need a little grace. I may need some support. I definitely need some modeling, and I certainly need a lot of love. And I try and do that exact same thing for my children when they're having a hard day. So it's communicating and recognizing that each of us are where we are and being able to identify where we are so that we can show up for one another in the best way that we're able. If I try to be the strong one through it all of the time, they won't trust that I have down days like them. And then they won't lean on me in those down days. And then our trust just ultimately decreases. I'm not perfect, and I'm not shooting for perfection. I have tried. I really have tried. And it didn't really work for me. So the way that I'm looking at it, it's progress, not perfection. So my best suggestion to you is letting you know that it's okay, that you are doing a great job, even when you feel like you're not. You are doing a great job. Your leadership is what they need. Your humility is what they will respect. And your kindness is what will make them into good people. That's it. Your kindness is what will make them into good people. And when we can model humility, kindness, and trust, we're good leaders. And our kids need us to lead, show them the way. I'm in this with you. I have my days. My kids have their days. This has not been easy. And we're all in this together. And there's a lot of peace in that. So I'm Lori Poland, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Foundation to End Child Abuse and Neglect. I wish you the best of days, and hopefully a lot of good days ahead. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Okay, a lot of that could just as easily apply to a pack or a troop, which you could even think of as an extended family. These are on scouting.org, Google Coping with COVID. There are others on being disappointed over canceled events, mental health, anxiety, abuse among siblings. So look for those if that's something that would interest you. And now, unless somebody has a question, I guess we'll move on to our breakouts.
There, I'm unmuted. So I just messed up and I went in there and Rick says, and I said, hey, everybody, I'm getting set up. And Rick says, is there something you need to tell us? I said, are you in the wrong room? He says, no, you are. So I starting off great. But anyway, so how's everybody doing tonight? Good.
Doing good.
So everybody can unmute themselves if they need to. Is that correct? I think so. So you know how I like to do these. If you want to interact, you have a question, you have something to say, unmute yourself and we're good to go. I like to be a little more interactive. So my portion tonight is going to be about getting parents involved. So, or just parental involvement, I think is what I originally called it. So it is really important to get parents excited and involved in your pack or den. Because parents who participate, they get more enjoyment out of the program, and their cubs also tend to stay in the program much longer than those with uninvolved parents. So the big question is, how do you get parents who seem to think that BSA stands for Babysitters of America to step up, join in, and help out? I have a video from BSA that has some great ideas about this. So Ed, would you put that on for me, please?
and welcome to this BSA Roundtable topic, Getting Parents Involved. Now, most parents are willing to help out with the PAC and will say yes if asked. So if that's the case, why don't we have more parents volunteering? We've discovered that most PACs lack a plan for getting parents involved. So we're going to cover a plan, not the only way to do it, but a great plan that has been very successful for PACs across the country. Before we talk about that plan, let's cover some things to avoid. First, most parents won't volunteer on their own, probably because they don't know the language of scouting. They don't know the program or the tools. It's like asking someone to bake a cake from scratch who's never been in the kitchen before. Also, expecting everyone to be a leader is not realistic. Of course, all parents need to be involved in some capacity, so take a look at each individual parent. Understand their skill sets and personality, and give them smaller tasks to contribute. You want a welcoming atmosphere, which means you should have a new member coordinator, someone whose only job is to welcome new parents, welcome members to meetings, getting to know people's names, and making introductions. To learn more about the position of new member coordinator, go to scouting.org. Focus on the tasks that need to get done instead of titles. A great resource for this technique, especially when you're recruiting new leaders, is the Selecting Cub Scout Leadership found on scouting.org. So, here's a plan, and it is centered around having a parent orientation. The parent orientation is ideally a standalone meeting held 7 to 10 days after your official recruitment event. Notice of this event, including the date, time, and location, should be communicated to all parents at your official recruitment event. By planning ahead, you'll help parents avoid any distractions. The key is to clearly lay out what Cub Scouting is and what's ahead. Prior to your parent orientation meeting, meet with your PAC leaders and formulate a list of all the tasks your PAC needs help with, including any potential vacancy leadership positions coming up, such as den leaders, assistant den leaders, cub masters, and assistant cub masters. Now make sure you have a mix of tasks, like an easy task, perhaps going to the scout shop to buy advancements for PAC meetings, all the way to being a den leader or cub master. Make sure each of those tasks include a timeline and a level of commitment. Now obviously the task of a monthly visit to pick up the advancements at the scout shop is less than agreeing to be a den leader, which requires training, planning, weekly meetings, PAC and committee meetings, and the like. When working with your leaders and formulating the tasks and leadership positions, avoid using scouting jargon when you're explaining them. New parents may not know yet what a den or a PAC is, so use words that describe the jargon. So, for example, instead of saying a den, say your grade level or your grade group. With your list of tasks outlined, create a sticky note for each task or position. For example, you know that a Pinewood Derby race should have, let's say, 3 people to carry out the event. Someone who's in charge of the event, someone who does the weigh-in, and then someone who does the recording of the race. Make sure you have a sticky note for each of those positions. Here are 2 examples of sticky notes. As you can see, each has the position, the associated task in plain language, and the time commitment it takes to do it. Now that you're organized, it's time to have that parent orientation meeting. Even though you told parents 7 to 10 days ago of this meeting, it's best to remind them. And that means personally contacting each parent to confirm their attendance. We recommend that instead of an email blast, send a personal text message. They tend to respond right away. Here's an example agenda to help you conduct your parent orientation meeting. For a full agenda and details on how to conduct a parent orientation, we've developed an online position-specific training module for all Cub Scout leadership positions. Go to my.scouting.org and take the course entitled Involving Adults in Cub Scouting. Obtain a portable board, then prior to the start of your meeting, organize your sticky notes on that board. After moving past the first few agenda items in the meeting, you're ready to discuss parent participation. At the appropriate time, ask parents to come up to the board and have them pick 2 or 4 tasks that they feel comfortable carrying out. Now, keep in mind the number of tasks assigned to each parent will depend upon the size of your PAC. So, for example, if you have a small Cub Scout PAC with only 20 families, you may need parents to take on more tasks. Where larger PACs with, say, 100 or more families We'll ask parents to take only 1 or 2 tasks because those tasks that they're taking on are going to be somewhat larger. Like, for example, how many advancements they have to pick up once a month for a small pack is much different than for a larger pack. Now, make sure you record what task each person took, which is vitally important to our next step, which is to follow up. Without this step, everything else will fall apart. This may even be another sticky note, following up with each adult to review their task and provide opportunities for questions. Make sure this is a personal conversation with each parent, either personally in person or by phone or even a text message. And depending on the position or task, there may be varying degrees of time commitment. And for those increased commitments, such as den leader, make sure you provide them the resources they'll need to be successful. Remember, we want to emphasize tasks over positions. So if you find you have some leftover sticky notes, that's okay. Over time, bring these sticky notes to future meetings with parents and committee members as a visual reminder that these tasks are not getting done. Hopefully a parent will take 1 or more of these tasks. You may also find that a parent cannot, for one reason or another, carry out the tasks they previously committed to. In this case, simply rewrite that sticky note and place it back on the board. Since that follow-up phone call after the parent orientation is so important to the success of the pack, let's take a quick moment to review some of the resources that will be helpful to your parents. First and foremost is a 3-minute video entitled The 5 Most Frequently Asked Questions About Cub Scouting. You can find this video on scouting.org and on YouTube. Also on scouting.org is a downloadable PDF brochure entitled Selecting Cub Scout Leadership. This is a great resource that will further help you identify the right leadership characteristics and the right person for positions like den leader, pack committee chair, or even cub master. The link to download this PDF brochure is on your screen. We have recently added some new overview videos on scouting.org as well, which quickly provide den leaders resource information, such as how to run a den meeting, and overview information about each rank. And each rank has its own resource page for that den leader, including overview videos, links to free resources, and onboarding materials. Everything a den leader needs to get started and onboarded properly is all there on one page. Also be sure to incorporate an overview of Scoutbook and the Scouting app in your orientation with your parents. Direct them to scoutbook.com to learn about that application tool and how to download the Scouting app onto their smartphone or device. Scoutbook and the Scouting app includes everything a parent needs to know to stay connected with their child through their Scouting experience, such as calendar events, rank advancement, and everything else. And finally, for all of our den leaders, new and returning, we have the new Den Leader Experience, which is also part of Scoutbook. Now, in closing, keep in mind that ongoing communication with your leaders and parents is vitally important. Now, also keep in mind that not every person who takes a task is going to be able to do it, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And also that they may also do it in a way that you don't prefer or the way that you would have done it. And that's okay. And they just may not be successful at the task that they picked. The key is to focus on the tasks that need to get done. So at time to time, it may be important to reassign those tasks that aren't getting done. It's all part of delegating and managing to be successful. Always remember to praise in public, but coach in private. Look for opportunities to enhance their experiences and guide them to the proper resources. So thank you for watching, and thank you for all that you do for Scouting. It's amazing what we're able to do when we're working together. We have an inclusive mindset of bringing new families and parents into our fold because more and more people are saying, "Scout me in."
Thanks, Ed. So I'll probably end up repeating a few things that he said, but when I found the video, I thought that there were some really good points in there. I know it doesn't really seem like it a lot of the time, but many parents, oh, sorry. That's my put the chickens to bed alarm. Anyway, I was starting to say that, many parents really are willing to help, even though it doesn't seem like it. But most, and I'm sure you know this, most won't volunteer on their own. Sometimes it's because they're uncomfortable, if they're being asked to do something that's unfamiliar to them. How many times have you heard, well, I really don't know what to do? So I would say start newer parents and your parents who aren't typically involved with easy starter tasks, much like what he was talking about on the video. You can ask a parent, would you bring some yarn to the next DIN meeting to help scouts tie the tails on kites? Or can you bring a dozen cookies for snack time at the end of a pack meeting? And these are really simple things that anyone can do. And since pretty much everyone knows how to tie string or how to pick up a package of Oreos at the store on the way, chances are that the person you ask will say yes. And that's really your foot in the door with them. And I would say don't stop there. There are always more needs in a pack than people stepping up to fulfill them. And again, I'm sure everyone here tonight knows that. But if you don't ask for help, then they just assume you don't need it. One piece of advice though, when you need a volunteer, I don't know, say for example, someone to be the Pinewood Derby chair. Try not to address all the parents as one in a group because you typically won't get a favorable response that way. They'll just sit there in silence, deer in the headlights look, and wait for somebody else to speak up. In the end, no one will. So instead, I would encourage you to ask an individual directly and in person, because I'm here to tell you that emails work even less than asking a group. And I hate to say it like this, but it really is true. So I'm just going to put it out there. It's a lot harder for someone to say no to a request for help when you're asking them face to face. If they say they'll think about it, make sure you follow up, because I'll think about it too often turns into I forgot. So we want to try to avoid that if we can. So it does take a little more diligence on your part, but I just think about it this way. The more people you can get helping, maybe it's a little more work up front, but in the end, it's going to take a lot of burden off of you. Now, participation keeps parents focused on their scouts and the program, and it increases the likelihood of their involvement with the DIN or pack. So I would suggest requiring that parents attend all pack and DIN meetings. I know a lot of packs have a problem with, drop and run, but have them attend all the pack and DIN meetings, events, and activities. I would also very strongly suggest that packs develop a strict no electronics policy that applies to not only the scouts, but leaders and parents as well. 1 hour a week without a phone is not going to kill anyone, although I imagine you'll have a little bit of a hard time convincing your parents at first. But a no electronics policy will also help your parents get to know one another, and that will help them create friendships and provide opportunities for parent-child interaction. I have seen cubs accomplish something and probably look over at their parent only to see them staring at their phone like this time and time again. And the look of sadness on that cub's face is so heartbreaking. And in those child's minds, their parents just told them whatever was on their phone was more important than that accomplishment. So I would really encourage you to avoid that scenario in your pack whenever possible. I don't think many parents think about the fact that their involvement in their child's scouting program is really another way to show their love, and has the byproduct of strengthening family bonds and creating memories as well. Also have a word for leaders. Stop carrying the ball for everything and delegate. I know this is easier said than done. It's something I personally struggle with as well. But while it's normal for a pack to have a few dedicated leaders who just really seem to do everything, they can't do it by themselves forever. They will eventually burn out. To make sure that you have enough people to do all the jobs, you will have to dip into the pool of your parents. So one way to do this, like he said in the video, is to make a list of specific jobs that need to be done. How you get that to the parents, you can use the sticky note example that the video used, or it could be something as simple as printing out a list to hand to the parents and let them know that tonight they need to find 1 or 2 or 3, however many you need them to find, items on that list that they will do, and then write down their name and the job they're willing to take on and follow up with them personally regarding the job they've chosen. Another method that I came across with another pack is creating a leaderboard. And I have a picture of that I took with my phone. Ed, can you put the picture of the leaderboard up? That's not it. I emailed.
Just 1 second, I'm working on it.
Okay, thanks. So this is an idea that I came across a few years ago that I actually thought was a pretty great one. I hadn't seen it. But this was Pack 608, and I don't even remember what district they're in, but they would hold, I talked to the leader that had this board, and she said that this pack would hold their parent meeting the week after Roundup, and they would always bring out this board. And it's all the available jobs in their pack. And she put clear pockets on the tri-board and printed out cards with jobs and the job duties. And you can't see it in this picture, but there, for some of the bigger jobs like Cub Master, Advancements and Award, you can flip that card over and there's more on the back. So what they would do is they would have the parents come up and choose a job. And this is just an example of it. They also had a board with smaller jobs on it, just smaller tasks that, somebody could take more than one of. But when a person would come up and choose a job, they pulled that card out and handed it to the person. They would also write down their name and contact information so that they had a way to follow up. And then when they had their card with the name, I guess they put the scout's name on it as well, the contact info, they then slid, and they put the name of the job, they slid it in that pocket so they knew whose job that was. And I just thought that was kind of genius, because that way, especially if they were new parents, they may not remember, after the meeting, but they had all the information right there. And then the person that agreed to do the job had the information as well. And I believe they also on the backside would put, the training that the person would need. Like I said, it was just a really great way they did it. And, they just had that on their computer so that, next year they can just print another one out and they could update as needed. So as you may or may not be able to see on this, there were jobs such as Cub Master and Den Leader and Committee Chair, but there were also, they had jobs like Community Service Chair, Camping Coordinator, School Liaison, Camp Card Fundraising, and there were also several cards for just committee member at large, because even if your parent doesn't have a specific job, they can be a committee member. There's no reason why they couldn't. So if you prefer to do this and you'd prefer to pick individuals for a certain job instead, then that's okay too. Use this and say, okay, this is what I have for you. It's up to you how you want to do it, because you may have a good idea of who would be a good Cub Master for your pack, which is always better than just pulling somebody that's brand new coming off of a Roundtable. I'm not Roundtable, Roundup. So, however you want to do it, I would say start by having all your adults in the pack fill out the family talent survey. It'll give you a pretty good idea about who in your pack is best suited for certain jobs. I know everything's not on there, but it still does give you a decent idea. So, you'll know, you may not know immediately after a Roundup that you have a mom who's a CPA, but once she completes that family talent survey, then and she may be the one that you want to start asking, hey, we need a treasurer, that would be your first choice right there. Maybe there's a dad who's an IT guy and you find out about that. And so he may be the one you want to ask to be your communications guy. So, you know, I know it's hard. We all want things done our way, but you have to trust that someone else can also do the job right, even if it's not exactly how you would do it. Again, that is something that I have struggled with. I'm getting better with it because I just have to keep telling myself there's no one right way to do everything. And, you know, I wholeheartedly believe that my way is the perfect way, but you know, it's not. And so you got to let that go a little bit. So that is all I have in my notes. Does anybody have any suggestions on what has worked in your pack or any other ideas that I didn't think of tonight? Denise, you can unmute yourself.
I did. Have you ever heard of the Oreo test?
I have heard of it, but I don't remember it.
Okay.
Yeah, tell us.
You think someone might be a decent leader. You get him off to the side, just like you said. Ask him, can you bring a bag of Oreos to the PAC meeting next week? If he does not show up with Oreos, forget it. If he brings one bag of Oreos, but it's, say, the snack size, no, he's not going to invest the time and resources. If he brings one bag of Oreo cookies, okay, maybe an assistant den leader at least, because he'll do exactly what he's asked. If he brings double stuff or brings 2 bags of Oreos, potential leader. If he brings enough Oreos for everybody, next Cub Master.
What about the person that brings one of every flavor so that everybody has what they like? I know, that's committee vice chair.
Well, that would be me because I don't like the black Oreos. I like the golden ones.
I don't like any of them, but
still,
yeah.
the thought is there, thinking of everybody. Yes, possible committee chair.
Cool. So everybody here have an easy time getting volunteers out of your parents, or do you struggle with it? I saw Eric nod. You have an easy time, Eric?
Yeah, we usually have no problems. Our parents are pretty hands-on parents. Like, we're pretty lucky in the sense that they're, you know, all in to help out with, but, you know, you ask them to do something, they're going to do it for you. So we're pretty lucky in that sense.
So are they that way from the very beginning? They walk in and you say, I need this, and you just have them raising their hands, or do you do something?
I mean, definitely we'll ask them to do something, and we'll start off with something small, like, hey, would you help so-and-so, like, you know, work the hand sanitizer station for a meal line or something, and then we kind of progress them from there, and the next thing they know, they're den leaders. And
so that's kind of the same thing as I was talking about, where you start them off with starter tasks, and
right.
Then you work it up from there.
And the big thing is to have them work with somebody who's already been with the pack, because then they don't feel like, oh, well, what if I don't know what to do? They've got somebody there who knows what they're doing, and that's why I don't think we have a problem getting help, because we just need you to help out. We've got someone running it. We just need an extra set of hands.
Well, and it is easier when you already have several people stepping up. It is easier to get more people to join in. You know, the numbers do help. So Jesse, you shook your head, right?
Yeah, shook my head. We haven't had the easiest time getting parents to volunteer or getting parents to do very much.
So what have you tried any of the things we talked about tonight?
Last year, we ended up trying a guerrilla tactic that somebody had suggested, and it seemed to work for a couple of weeks, but then, you know, it just didn't pan out.
Well, keep trying. I know that sometimes the area you're in can make it a little harder. You have a few more Hispanic and Spanish-speaking families in your PAC area. So I know that offers an additional challenge for you.
Yeah, the language barrier is definitely something we're going to have to try to overcome. And this year I'm going to try to search out that one person. Their job is going to be translation.
Perfect.
And see if we can find somebody that can help us. That's all they need to do for us is you help us translate between the Cub Master and committee chair, and help us get those other leaders in place, and that's all you got to do.
I think that's a great job. And you know, if you do decide to go with the leaderboard, like what we talked about, or the sticky note, what we talked about, yeah, definitely add that into your list. Or even if you're doing a printed list, and if you have a parent who can translate that list for you so that you can hand it to your Spanish speaking families, that's helpful as well. If not, I'm going to volunteer Taylor, our new DE, can probably do that, or I can volunteer Matt. So Matt Schoen can also translate for you.
One of the things that is at least with getting them to help out with the pack is if you get the parents involved on a den level. One of the big successes I had with getting parents involved was, like, I'll set my kids on a long table, and what we'll do is we'll put the kids down this side of the table and the parent sits directly across from the kid. And it helps a lot with behavior, but it also, the parents are going to get involved because they're sitting right there. And once you get them warmed up to working on a den level, when you ask them to do something for the pack, they're already involved with it. So it's a lot easier to get that yes response out of them.
Great idea.
So part of our problem, this is Allison, I'm obviously in the same pack as Jesse. You know, part of our problem is it is Hispanic families, and so it's large families. So the whole family comes to the meeting.
Right.
It's hard to have the family sit across from the kid because the 5 members of the family are all clustered over in the corner, while the one kid is sitting at the table, you know, with the rest of the den. And then of course there is that language barrier that's our number one issue.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle.
They come in clusters. I mean, it's not just one kid and one parent, and it's younger siblings, it's older siblings, and sometimes it's the teenage sibling bringing the kid, and so it's difficult. It would be difficult for us to try to do that as well.
And that is a challenge when you have a pack with several Hispanic families, because Hispanic families do like to do their activities together. I mean, they're very family centric, which is actually really good for Cub Scouting, because Cub Scouting is as well. So I guess really coming up with a way to incorporate the whole family in might be helpful. How to do that? Off the top of my head, I don't know. I wish I had the answer, but I will give it some thought. And I will let you and Jesse know if I come up with anything. The Hispanic Scouts outreach isn't dead. It's just kind of taking a pause right now because I can't do much with it during COVID to move it forward. But you can count on me. If you need something, contact me and I'll do what I can. But let me give some thought to that, because really, if you think about it, if the whole family's there, we should be able to figure out a way to incorporate that into the program.
Well, but then you have the language issue. So, you know, trying to communicate with them to involve them, if you are trying to do something that's the whole family, becomes difficult.
Do you typically have at least a couple of adults who are bilingual?
I mean, we had one step forward last year that did help us for a couple of months, and then, you know, kind of dropped off as the majority of them do once you get into the holidays. But honestly, usually the majority of the parents, it is zero English. I mean, or very, very little. And I saw your message, Taylor, and absolutely, Sundays at 2:30, we will take it, because it's hard. It's hard trying to get a buy-in for popcorn. It's hard trying to get a buy-in for activities, when we're able to have activities again. I mean, it is very difficult. And I know, all the effort you've put forth, Stacy, trying to, help us with that outreach and to just kind of bridge that gap. But, with these new issues with COVID and, how many of those families are just keeping their kids at home so they don't even know about, scouts still doing roundups. I just don't know what this year is gonna look like for us.
Okay. Well, I am making notes, and let me think on it and see what I can find. And thank you, Taylor, for being willing to help out with that. So it looks like the troops are back with us. Rick, did it time out on you again?
One of the things about having an expert talk is that they can get the subject real clear, real fast, and Craig did a great job. So
awesome.
Really good.
Well, any more questions or I can't speak. Any more questions or suggestions for getting parents involved?
I think that when you're recruiting, people are often scared by the titles because they don't know what it means. Everybody knows what a secretary or a treasurer is, but they don't really know what a den leader does or what a outings chair is. So you might need to avoid titles when explaining. The scariest one of all is Cub Master, because they think they're in charge of all 30 kids. And really, the Cub Master, ideally, is a figurehead to the 30 kids, but is really the leader of the leaders and the ringmaster of the circus. So I think when you make that more clear when trying to recruit future Cub Masters, and maybe it'll be a little less scary.
Yeah. But I would say right now, get started with your parents on the small things. Get them in, and I agree with Eric, get them involved at the den level first if you can. Because again, it's that foot in the door. It's just finding a place to start them off and get them hooked. I mean, I think Ed, what did I start out as? You talked me into just being a committee member at large, I think.
Yep.
And I couldn't say no to it. He's like, well, there's not that much to do. You just sit in a meeting once a month. Okay, I can do that. Well, look at me now. So, it is. It's just really getting that foot in the door, and you will hook some people. But Denise gave us a great segue into Ed's section. He is going to talk about recruiting. So if nobody has any more questions or anything about parental involvement, we'll move on to him.
All right, great. So as far as recruiting goes, I heard you, Allison. I heard what you were saying. And we've got to remember that we can't really rely on Cub Scout roundups this year like we have in the past to just fill our meeting places with young Cub Scouts. It's going to be very difficult for them not being able to go into the schools to make these presentations and for us to do the roundups. So the second part of this breakout is to talk about recruitment events and to talk about recruiting things that you as pack leaders can do to try to bring in some scouts. And it's been advertised a couple of times, so you've probably seen there is a little contest going through the month of September for peer-to-peer recruiting in Cub Scouts. And I think, Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, or Renate, didn't Rodney say he wanted to expand that to Scouts BSA really soon, like probably next month for Scouts BSA?
I think so, yes.
I thought so.
In
But,
fact, I think he wants
tell him
to
about that
expand
real
it.
quick, if you would.
Well, the idea behind the inside out scouting or the peer-to-peer recruitment is that we encourage our scouts to bring their friends. And once they bring their friends and they have a good time together, then hopefully those kids will sign up and join your unit. And to grow our program that way, not just by depending on the schools this year. We have an incentive plan in place where the unit that has the most kids sign up through that and register with as register with Scouts with BSA. That unit will get either a pizza party or ice cream party of their choice, whichever they want. And I don't remember our time frame on that. I think we had set a date.
I think it was through the month of September.
Was it through September?
And it does not include Roundup Scouts. It's just Scouts brought in by their friends.
Correct. So there is a form, and it's on the district website page, where you as a leader for the unit would sign off that John Smith brought in Caleb Johns or whatever, and that was a direct link, that it was an invite, bring a friend kind of thing. And those get turned into the office in Lawrenceville, and then they'll get tallied back up and come back out so that we know who to give that award to of ice cream or pizza. And then, yes, Rodney had talked about not just doing it with our packs, but also encouraging our troops and crews to do the same thing. He kind of wants to see how it goes here in Sweetwater, and then potentially bring the concept to the council and encourage other districts to use that as well if it's successful.
Okay. Well, so it seems like everybody had the same idea tonight. We got lots of videos. So I have a video for you, and this is on recruitment events, and this gives you some information and ideas for a pack leader to hold their own recruitment event and things that you can do right now. So I'm going to get this started.
Hi, and welcome to Roundtable. Let me start. Wait a minute. You know what? Let's start this over because I'm pretty sure you're 6 feet away from me. So let me start that over. Hi, and welcome to Roundtable. And let me start off by saying thank you for your leadership to Scouting and for your leadership to the youth of your community. I believe just as you do that Scouting is of tremendous value to our families, and it's important enough to make a priority. Now, our topic is recruitment, and in light of the current pandemic, we know that traditional methods of recruitment are not currently an option or require some adaptation. We're going to cover ways your pack can take a traditional recruitment event and with some adjustments, make them safe and successful. Our focus will be on the event. We're not going to focus on how to get people there or advertising needed. To learn more about those techniques to advertise your recruitment event, work with your local council and check out the webinars posted on the Membership and Marketing Hub. The link is below. Now, none of us have ever been through a recruitment campaign during a pandemic. We don't have all the answers. We do hope that some of the suggestions made here will help you in your planning, even if you only take 1 or 2 ideas away. The first step is to confirm your date, time, and location. In this model, we recommend that you consider conducting the event on a weekend during the day. We anticipate access to schools will not be available to outside groups during the pandemic. We recommend choosing an outdoor location with open spaces to allow for social distancing. Having the event outside means depending on natural light, and most parks close after sundown, so there's a need for the event to be held during the day. The physical layout of the event also requires a lot of space, as we will cover shortly. Our next recommendation is to have an activity associated with your event. Kids join Scouting to have fun, so this could be model rocket launches, fishing, or kite flying. All these activities are family friendly and can easily be done in a safe way that meets social distancing guidelines. These activities can also be used to promote the event. We won't get into the details of the activity, but with any activity that you conduct, check with local rules and regulations to ensure that you have any necessary reservations or permits. Ideally, you'll want to provide an activity that involves making something where the new Cub Scouts and parents can work together during the event, or even if they choose, they can take the project home to work on. This recruitment event uses a 5-station method. The number of stations is flexible, but using this method allows for social distancing and provides flexibility in time. With this method, you could have an open time period, for example, from 1 to 2, where people can come in at any time during that hour, or you can create different arrival times, perhaps by grade. This allows those who are arriving early to get started right away, and those who might be 15 or even 30 minutes late not miss anything. Find a space where you can place at least one table for each of the 5 stations, at least 6 feet apart. You want to have a good flow. In this method, as people arrive, they form a small group and visit each station in order. Here's an example of how you may have your stations arranged. Now, for a walkthrough of this method. We recommend that adults wear name badges that clearly identify them as a parent volunteer. This visual cue lets new families know that the Cub Scout program is a parent volunteer-led program. And make sure everyone wears a mask. As people arrive, they visit station number 1. Now, this station is your first impression, so make sure you have your most sociable parent or leader at this station. If you have a new member coordinator, this is their spot. At the station, the new family is greeted and asked to sign in. The sign-in sheet should ask for the name of the adult and child, grade of the child, and the preferred contact info. We recommend that you only ask for perhaps like the mobile number and confirm that receiving text messages is okay. Don't overwhelm the parent with too much information. Once there are 5 to 8 people who have signed in, the group is asked to step to the next station. It is important that the person at this station helps keep the flow going and making sure that the group stays small. A tip from the experts is, in this method, to have someone to make sure that that flow prevents the bottlenecks, because that helps keep the line going to the other 4 stations. They may need to speed up or slow down to make sure that everything flows. And also making sure that they're watching out to see if other people need breaks at the stations. Now at the second station, the group of new families is greeted by pack leadership, ideally the Cub Master and or den leaders. The goal is to welcome the family once again and paying attention to the potential new Cub Scout, engaging them, asking them questions. Here is a great place to have a pack display and a quick rundown of the highlights of activities the pack participates in and is planning over the next couple months. Make sure to have a printed list of pack meetings and events, including date, time, and physical address of the location, and make sure that's given to each family. Really important on this calendar is to make sure that you have the date, time, and location of the parent orientation and the next pack meeting. These may be links if the meetings are virtual. Once the pack calendar is handed out, the group moves to station number 3. At this station, they will complete the youth application and, if possible, adult applications. Now, ideally, this is done using online registration, having iPads or mobile devices. However, if that's not possible, paper applications can easily be used. There is someone there who can help guide anyone through the application in ensuring that all the required fields are completed. Now, once their application is completed, they move to the next station. So station number 4, if using online registration, this station is to provide the craft or give direction for the activity. If there's a need for someone to pay, this is the station where they can do so because they may have used a paper application. This is an ideal spot for the pack treasurer to oversee. Once it's confirmed that the family has joined, they are provided the craft or are given direction to proceed to the next station. Now, the last station is my favorite station because this is where all the fun is. You'll want to have several parents and leaders who are already members of the pack to be at this station. They are there to help guide people through the activities, but just as important, they're there to get to know the new parents. They're looking at their skill sets of each parent, and they're giving consideration to how those new parents may best fit into the pack. So let me give an example. A parent that is not only helping their child, but is reaching out and helping families work on their craft or activity may have the skill sets to be a great den leader. A parent, through conversation, shares that their family already enjoys camping and the outdoors. So that person might be a great to help plan for pack campouts, and they might be willing to take Baloo training. It's not a bad idea to provide those parents and leaders who are running the station with a small notepad to write down the names and help them remember details that they remember about those parents. In this example, you may find 1, 2, or 3 ideas you can incorporate into your recruitment event. Or you may just jump right in and try to do it all. Your circumstances will be unique, so flexibility and adaptability will be key. Here are some resources that you may find useful to support your recruitment event. Welcome New Cub Scout Families brochure. The Welcome New Leader Series brochures that includes information for den leaders, cub masters, and new pack committee members. There's plenty of resources that can be found on the Cub Scout homepage of scouting.org. Be a Scout and online registration information can be found at beascout.org or my.scouting. And also recruitment items found at the Membership and Marketing Hub at scouting.org. Once again, thank you for your leadership and your efforts to invite new families to enjoy the scouting experience. I hope you and your family remain healthy, and I look forward to seeing you sometime down on the scouting trail.
So there's a couple things in this video that I wanted to point out. The first off is the 5-table method that they talked about. I watched a webinar recently, and all of those are still available online, but there's a webinar talking about recruitment, and they were talking about doing a drive-through roundup, which uses a method similar to the 5-table method, except that there was no activity. So that kind of takes the fun out of it. But what it does allow is it allows parents to come in, stay distant from others, and to be able to get the information about your pack to decide and hopefully join that evening. And he also didn't talk about marketing your event. And I just wanted to show you one thing that I found also. And let me see if I can pull this up here. I can get this to come up. There is a, come on. There is a idea that they showed us in that same webinar, and they used door hangers. So they just took a piece of paper. It could be like cardstock or something a little bit heavier than computer printer paper, and they printed a little flyer, punched a hole in it, and ran a rubber band through it. And they went around to the neighborhoods and hung these on doorknobs of people's homes. They didn't knock on the door, or if they knocked, they didn't stay. They just passed these out to get the word out that they were going to have an event coming up. So it's one way that you can get the word out. Of course, you know, a lot of units have Facebook pages and such, but if someone doesn't already know about your pack, it's tough to get the word out to them that way. So think about ways that you can network the neighborhood around your school that you normally feed from, and definitely talk to your returning scouts about the peer-to-peer recruiting. Try and get them to recruit a friend, bring a friend to a meeting, and even if it's a virtual meeting, get that friend involved and let them see what kind of things that your pack does that they would enjoy, and let's try and help build that way. Now, you know, we're still going to have these roundups, so there will be some scouts coming in from them. I don't think we would get 0, but again, I wouldn't expect it to be as well attended as it has in past years. So we just have to think of new ways. The webinars and all of that information is available online. I wanted to tell you also the Membership Marketing Hub also has more videos that you can use if you want to try and get the word out, you can download and use these videos, and they have all types of recruiting videos. They have scouts talking about the things they love about scouting. They have parents talking about the things they like about volunteering. And there's lots of other materials, like stuff that you can use in your marketing, like you might want to find a really good Cub Scout logo or something like that. All of that is on there. And all you need to do is create a login, and that's available to you. And it's all high quality items that once you print it, it comes out in real high quality, and it's really good on the web too. And Renate, did you have any other suggestions? I know I've probably skimmed over this pretty quickly.
Well, I was just going to say that the scoutingwire.org at the Marketing and Membership Hub is where they have those recruitment videos if you're interested. There's been lots of interesting concepts out there over the last few months, from geofencing through Facebook or the drive-through roundups and all kinds of other things that are really helpful. And so you can, and that stuff you can watch, you don't have to log in anywhere. It's just if you're going to use the videos and resources that they have pre-packaged for us to use, that you have to have that login. So.
And I know we still have some Scouts BSA people in this meeting, and I'm glad you hung around. Help your local PACs this year. Just remember that the PAC that you normally get Scouts from is struggling to get Scouts themselves, and so put some of your effort toward helping them. If they don't bring in Cub Scouts, then it reduces the Scouts BSA members that you get crossing over from them. And so, you know, we should really be all in on the Cub Scout recruiting this year, and kind of an all hands on deck kind of thing where we all help out, because I know they really need it, and it will make a difference in the longevity of the program, whether this is successful or not.
Right. So I've been working on a sign up genius kind of setup for the roundups, and I've shared that. I mentioned that in the chat earlier. I've shared that with, I think, Ed, Stacy, Ryan, and Taylor, and maybe Denise too. But it was late. It was shortly before this meeting that I was able to kind of complete a first draft of that. If that's going to be effective and helpful for them in terms of letting folks know when their roundups are and where their roundups are going to be. And then also have a chance for units to have people sign up, as well as leaders who, you know, kind of are helping coordinate those. That will be out there. We also have been working on a couple of surveys that kind of give us a sense of where your unit's at. Are you meeting in person? Are you meeting solely online? Are you doing kind of a hybrid model depending on what people in your unit are comfortable with? And then also we want to kind of know where y'all are at. What is it that you need, and how can we best support you from the district level to continue to be successful with your program? Because a huge thing I know for our unit, my troop right now, you know, we're less concerned about recruiting and more concerned about retention and keeping our kids engaged and plugged in. And we want to make sure as a district committee that we're providing that kind of support to all of our folks out there making this program happen for kids.
Okay. I don't have anything else on this topic, but I would love to hear if any units have started working on some recruiting efforts, things that you're working on, or things that you hope to work, or that you found that has worked. Anybody already working on that? The other thing I was going to ask, if any of our PACs want to tell us if they are meeting in person or if they're doing all virtual at this point, or some kind of hybrid between the two.
PAC 50 is doing a hybrid. We're meeting, the dens are meeting off site because we meet at the Legion Hall. So like my den's meeting out in my front lawn, our wolf den is meeting at the den leader's backyard, but we're also streaming them via Zoom. So kids who don't feel, parents who don't feel comfortable, their kids can still participate. Parents who do feel comfortable, they're more than welcome to come over and participate in person.
Okay. Craig, did you have something? I saw you on.
I was just gonna say, Eric, I like hearing that since you can't meet at the Legion, you're taking it old school and taking it back to the way it was years and years ago. And
how it was when I was a kid, we always met at somebody's house. That's how it was when I did it.
Right. And, a lot of newer scouters don't know that. So
right.
I'm glad to see that.
Cubmaster Craig? He unmuted himself, but I didn't think he had anything. Well, all right, folks. That's the end of that topic. Please keep an eye out on our district webpage. We are doing our best. Anytime we run across something new, we put it on there. So it'll help you find what you need to know. Tips on finding ways to meet and that type of information. And it's all on the homepage. Upcoming events will be posted pretty soon on the homepage. There's not a lot on there right now because most everything that we've tried to plan over the summer has had to be canceled or postponed. But the upcoming events will start showing up on the page again. So just check it pretty regular.
Is going to happen. Cubtoberfest is happening on October 3rd. So y'all can count on that. There is no plans to change that because we will be at Scoutland where we can really spread out. So just wanted to
this was a replacement for us. It was a replacement for simply the Best Fest, which we originally did in the spring, and then we had to postpone it to the fall. And now we've decided that we're going to incorporate it with this council event. And so Stacy and Craig and Beverly have all been working along with Jason from council and planning this event. So a lot of the things that we try to do at Simply the Best Fest, you're going to find out there. And then the other thing is that we're inviting troops. Craig could probably tell you how many troops he's talked to, but we're inviting troops to come out and lead field games and scout skills exhibitions, competitions, whatever they want to do to entertain the Cub Scouts as well at this event. So it should be a pretty good day. And of course there's food too. We're gonna have a cookout at midday. Anything else from anybody?
If I can just brag on something for 1 second here.
Absolutely.
I want to give some people some ideas. Let me flip my camera around. So this is something that I've been working on here. What I did was I took an old sign, and you can see it's got the different ranks on it. And then each rank has its own series of knots as it goes up. And there's the demonstration on this side. And then on this side, I've got a spot where they can actually practice tying these knots. So something fun for the kids. I mean, you can pretty much turn that into a knot tying relay race. And, my Arrow of Light guys in theory should know all of those knots going all the way up, the board basically.
That's real cool.
So something I've been working on since we can't really do nothing too much in person.
Yep. Kathy, you put something in chat about your meetings. Tell us how your troop is meeting right now. Kathy, are you there?
So last week was the first in-person meeting, and so the kids are broken up by patrols. The patrol leaders and the senior patrol leaders met prior to the meeting and talked about how they were going to handle it. So we're very fortunate to have an outdoor space where we could all safe distance and line up to check in. And then the boys all moved with their patrols and adult leaders to different spots close to the hut, across the street at Grayson Park, Grayson Elementary behind the playground. So every patrol was safe distancing, and they met there and talked rank and talked merit badges that they might work on as a group. So we're going to continue that process for the next however long. 6 o'clock each Monday night, we'll make a weather call. If it is rain, like 2 weeks ago, rain was in sight. It was actually there. So we went Zoom. So everybody knows to check in at 6. If the rain coming, then we will not meet at the hut because we cannot put them all inside. It's too close.
Yep.
And so then we go Zoom. Yep.
All right, cool.
That's the
Any
plan.
other packs or troops that have started meeting face to face, so to speak? Well, all right. I hope we have some others that that do begin to venture out and see what we can get these kids involved with that they will enjoy to keep them in scouting.
Mhm. Yeah, I was going to share, we had a court of honor a few weeks ago outside, and it was really great. We marked spots for families to sit together so that they would kind of be forced to be separated from one another. And then the boys came up and got their awards and kind of did it one at a time, and didn't shake hands and that kind of thing, but there was still acknowledgement of their advancements, which was great. Because we haven't had a court of honor since Christmas, and so it was really time for us to do that. But then for the most part, we're doing all our troop stuff on Zoom, and then having our patrols get together so that it's automatically a smaller group of people doing their thing.
Yep. I did see Craig replied in chat. They have 9 troops that have spoken up and said they want to come out to Cubtoberfest from Sweetwater, and I know Chattahoochee is working on troops. I think they have 1 committed right now, and they're working on some more. So yeah, we're going to have some Scouts BSA troops there to help entertain the Cubs and maybe teach them something along the way. So that should be kind of fun.